Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe. Share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Very quickly, let's start with Thursday night's bouts that took place up in Canada, which was headlined by Mary Spencer against Michaela Mayer. Obviously, we did speak about it briefly on Basis Picks, but I think it does deserve mention. I've only seen the highlights as I was unable to get my VPN working to watch the full event. But from what I saw, I mean, it looked like Michaela Mayer pretty much bossed the fight from start to finish. Now, I did predict that she would do so, but I predicted that she'd probably get a split decision, thinking that Mary Spencer might get some extra consideration, being that it's in Canada. Obviously, she's the main event. I have the Tiger Promotions. That's not to say that, home cooking exists necessarily over there, but you always kind of err on the side of caution. But I felt like Michaela would make it so obviously clear that she won, and from what I saw in the in the highlights, it pretty much looked like she did. Boss the fight. Looked like she hurt Mary a few times in there, and Mary looked being a bit of an older lady at the moment. Maybe she just doesn't have the speed and the snap. She's definitely a big puncher, and I think Michaela did acknowledge that after the fight. But I don't think that the punches themselves, she allowed her to really get full extension on them. So probably she was able to withstand and weather that, and probably game planned for the difference in power. But I gotta hand it to her. I wasn't really a big fan of her down at 130 for multiple reasons. But since she actually left that division, she's grown on me somewhat. I interviewed her before. Good, very pleasant in some aspects. Obviously, there was the thing with Sandy Ryan and the paint, and whether that was from her or her team or not, that's sort of besides the point. But she's a good interviewer, very good analyst and color commentator when she does the broadcasts and stuff, and she's a good fighter. So big ups to her. And she's definitely wearing the additional weight a lot better than she was at 130. So, yeah. Also, though, on the undercard of that, I think I have to mention the fact that Ralph Vilkins, the Ralph Vilkins that went 10 rounds with Anthony Yard, and in some people's minds beat Anthony, or was en route to possibly beating him. Although I think it was just the referee that was scoring the bout on that. I think he gave it like 98, 92 to Yard. But yeah, the people in attendance and the people on the TV saw something a little bit different. Well, Ralph Vilkins got knocked out in the first round of a bout with Mehmet Unal, who is a light heavyweight, I guess, up and coming, but 32 years old, so no spring chicken. Yeah, first round knockout. Now, to be fair, Anthony Yard did drop him in the first round of their bout, but it further maybe goes to illustrate the embellishment of power that a lot of people believe Yard to have. If Wilkins can go the distance with you, but then is getting knocked out first round by a nondescript opponent, But we're gonna leave that for another time. We're gonna leave that maybe for additional analysis after the Benavidez fight. That we'll leave that there. I didn't see anything else on the card, but I saw those two moments there. Then we got to the Queensberry card. Now I don't know of all the fights that was on the card. There's, like I said, Queensberry normally have like 12, 13 bouts per card. Now I don't have the time or the energy to sit down through all of that. But I think where I came in was part of the way through the Billy Dennis and Ezra Aranyeka fight. I think I predicted for Aranyeka to win, and I think that was basically just, I thought Dennis would be doing good work and then possibly just get caught with something big just due to Aranyeka's number one, the punch power, but just his unorthodox nature in the ring. That was actually before I realized that Dennis was a former kickboxer, and that he done a lot of sparring up in in Canada, in Quebec, with who's his name, Christian Mbile and Arthur Beterbiev. So shout out to October Red for the for the information within that video. But at that point, it was too late to change my pick. So I knew that he would sort of be tough. But looking at the fight and the rounds of the fight that I saw, he definitely wears punishment quite a lot on his face. And I don't know if he actually got sort of beat up more than I thought, or he was just maybe someone that marks up easily. I'm not sure which one it is. But from what I saw of the bout, he was pretty much in big control, dominating, and Aranyeka didn't really have much left. And I think he was really surviving in the last round to not get himself stopped. But such is life. After that bout, I'm trying to think what was the next one. I'm not sure if this was the next fight or not on the card, but we'll talk about Brad Ray and Lyndon Arthur, because that was a really good fight. And I did predict that Lyndon Arthur would win. I predicted he win on points. I felt like he just had the extra experience and that, that touch of the world-class nature that Brad Ray wouldn't really be able to overcome, especially him also coming up through weight classes, being a former middleweight and super middle. And in the first couple rounds, I thought I had Lyndon Arthur, pretty much doing his thing, really, really, laying the hammer down with the backhand, straight down the pipe. I thought he was doing really well. And then all of a sudden he gets clipped by a left hook. Just didn't get his arm up in time in the second round, gets dropped quite heavily, but gets back up to his feet, and he seems to be calm and clear-headed. Takes the count as well to get up to just 7-8, then gets up. Referee said, "Yep, calm, you're good. We go again." Ray tried to finish the bout in that second, but Lyndon Arthur, he was riding shots, rolling, slipping, countering, and sort of just weathering the storm. He threw back. He definitely made sure to show the ref he was good. The round ended, and then from there it was a back and forth affair, but he just had the cleaner work. His shots just happened to be hitting the target with a lot more authority. He was moving his head more than Ray was moving his. Ray's left eye at one point was really badly swollen. They did really good to get the inswell on it, to sort of bring it down throughout the rounds. But yeah, Arthur just sort of kept peppering the eye, just kept, sticking the jab in it, sticking the backhand in it, some left hooks, some right crosses, some uppercuts off the ropes. He was doing really well. Ray was obviously showing and imposing his size, and his, I guess maybe his freshness, the fact that he didn't probably have to work as hard to make the weight as Lyndon Arthur did. But Arthur off the ropes and off the back foot, and also sometimes on the front foot, was just really, really picking those shots well. I was impressed with him in this bout, and clearly he's trying to show that he didn't have, he still had a little bit left in the tank. I think he got it on a majority decision. I think one of the cards was even 114, 114, and then the other two, I think one was 115, 113, and I think the other one was 115, 112. So he got the EBU European title. And now, funnily enough, even though he's lost twice to Anthony Yarde, that now means that he's got better accolades and better, better trophies and championships than Anthony Yarde has had as a professional, which is interesting. But, well, I guess maybe some people would have said that because he had the IBO world title anyway, if you put any stock into that. But either way, it was a good fight, good performance. It was probably definitely a fight of the night, and I was thoroughly enjoyed watching it. Then we got to the main event, Joshua Buatsi and Zach Parker. Now, full disclosure, I wasn't scoring the fight primarily because I expected Joshua Buatsi to knock Zach Parker out, and I said anything other than that, I've got to question where you're actually at in your career, because Zach Parker is not good. That being said, Zach Parker put on a somewhat decent performance, but it was nothing special. But Joshua Buatsi looked very, very bad in there. Flat-footed, heavy-legged, looked slow, looked sluggish, looked disinterested. Looked like he was having to think too much. And I don't know if any of that is, sort of delayed remnants from the Callum Smith fight, because that was a hellacious fight. It was, a grueling, punishing fight for both guys. And Joshua did take a lot of punishment in that fight. But here's what I'm going to say, right? I've seen a whole bunch of people saying he needs to get rid of Virgil Hunter as his trainer. And while I'm not going to go down that road here, I would like to, if I get the opportunity, speak to Buatsi, speak to maybe even the team, and not. I want to ask him, in his opinion, what has Virgil Hunter improved on him? Because truthfully, I don't know what it is. Is it his footwork? I don't think so. Is it his defense? I mean, he still gets hit the same as he was getting hit before. Is it his timing? Is it his inside work? Maybe he improved his inside game, because I feel like he is a much better body puncher now than he was before, but it seems to be at the detriment of everything else. Again, I'm not going to say that he needs to leave Virgil Hunter, but I do have to wonder what exactly is working between them, and what he sees, or what benefits I believe he reckons that he's getting from that partnership at the moment, because I can't see it. But maybe if he was to break it down, I might say, okay, cool, I get it. But one thing I think is certain, which is a shame at this point, is I think his peak has come and gone already. I think he's definitely on the back stretch of his career, in the sense that I would be surprised if he's still here 2 or 3 years from now. I wouldn't be surprised if 2026 is his last year in boxing, because everything I'm seeing about him, and even some of the things I've heard him say sort of over the last few months, is kind of just me suggesting that he's just looking for that one nice last bag, and then he's out to go and do other things. And based on his performance in this fight, that might be the best course of action, because I just don't know if he's got the heart, he's got that grit if people are willing to stand in front of him. But he's now just kind of proven that if someone wants to give him a little bit of movement and a little bit of awkwardness, it's like he can't handle it anymore, and that to me is a bit concerning. Now, in terms of him winning the fight, again, I wasn't scoring it. I will be real. Watching it, just with the general feel, it did feel that Zach Parker was quite far ahead. Although I didn't like the commentary. I thought that the commentary was overly biased towards saying what Zach Parker was doing. Although that being said, Zach Parker, he ended up on the floor about 5 or 6 times throughout the bout. Buatsi was complaining about him sort of constantly taking knees and the referee not giving him any warnings or points off for it. And I'll agree. Look, it's not Zach Parker's fault. If you can continually get away with it, do it. But it didn't really set a good precedent for him constantly like falling over and taking the knee. Like, Buatsi didn't pull him down every single time. Like, there was even a time Buatsi caught him with a shot and he went down to the floor, and the referee ruled it as a push down. And I was like, well, no, a punch connected there. So interestingly enough, though, looking at the scorecards, because like I said, it did look like Parker won the fight, maybe 93, 97 kind of thing, possibly 94, 96. But again, I wasn't scoring it properly. I wasn't really getting a feel for the rounds like that. But looking at the cards, it's interesting that Buatsi got the 2nd, the 6th, and the 8th rounds on every judge's scorecard, and Parker got the 3rd and the 4th on every judge's scorecards. But all of the other 5 rounds were kind of up for grabs. But the fact that I guess Buatsi got more consensus rounds than Parker did maybe means that the result itself wasn't as bad as people have claimed. Now, I'm saying this with a little bit of hindsight and a little bit of thought. By the time I watch the fight again, which I really don't want to, but Fight Talk Live, so, I'm going to have to know what I'm talking about, I might see it a lot differently. But again, scoring the fight, as I didn't do it, I can't make a comment on truly if I feel like Zach Parker was robbed or not. But the impression did look like it was a gift decision. So, yeah. But Buatsi going to have to change. So if he really wants to stick in the game, he's going to have to change something, because that ain't it. Not from someone who's supposed to have the talent levels that he has. and that also doesn't help the detractors and the people who are, out here basically saying that, he's afraid to step up to world level, and he's ducked the challenge of Bivol and Better Beef and all of these. And I'm also, one thing I don't like, and it's a mentality thing, which, okay, from a business point of view, from being just business, JB, okay, I kind of get it, but he refuses to have 12-round bouts unless, like, there's a title on the line. There's no reason this should have been a 10-rounder. Like, there should have been a 12 round bout, but he's done it on several occasions where he's like, well, if there's no title on the line, I'm not doing extra. Like, it's going to be 10 rounds and that's that. I feel like with an extra 2 rounds, he may have got even more clear separation in this fight. He may have even got a stoppage. Who knows? But yeah, that the mentality of that is, I'm not prepared. I'm not gonna do what's necessary. Doesn't really. I don't know. That one there isn't really sitting too well with me. But I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see what he does moving forward. But yeah, him in the game, I'm not sure, and the Virgil Hunter thing, I just don't know at this point in time. Then moving over to the matchroom card that took place in Caribe Royale in Orlando, Florida. Now, I haven't watched the entire card, but I did see bits of the Elvis Gomez fight. I need to go back and watch that because I feel like that one may have been I feel like that someone said that might have been fight of the night, so I got to check that one out. I saw Pat Brown against what was his name? Is it Vergara? Impressive. What was that? Second round TKO, down 3 times in the second. Pat was supposed to get rounds or try to get rounds out of this, and that didn't quite happen for him. But it was a good performance. And it just shows that he just got that nasty power. You don't want to get into the tear up with him. Try to box him, because when you box him, I feel like you get the better of him a lot of the time, because he's just sort of waiting to find openings to set you up. And when you sort of, like they say, sell out and then go into his wheelhouse, you're more than likely going to come off second best. That's kind of what it's looking like at this point in time. But big ups to Pat Brown. It was a clinical, devastating knockout, and I'm looking forward to the next one. We had Omari Jones in the chief support. He was facing, the guy's name was, I think it was Merturi Mitu or a name like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he was supposed to potentially give him rounds. I think he ended up stopping him in the second. After he hurt his second or third, he caught him with a right shot to the eye, and then he kind of walked away and then took the knee. He did get up on the 8, but the referee, I think, was already deciding he was going to wave it off, and possibly there might be a bit of orbital fracture or something like that. Not quite sure, but hoping that he's actually okay. But Omari Jones, that's the 4th fight, 4th KO. He looks like he's getting himself a nice little streak going. And he said he wanted to be even more active than he's been this year. So next year, maybe he can get 5 or 6 bouts in. And let's see kind of where he's going. And obviously, he had Nishant Dev on the, I think it was on the prelims portion of the card. But they're obviously building between those two to possibly fight each other like 3-4 years down the line, as Omari Jones did beat Nishant Dev in the amateurs. And they've got a little bit of, there's a little bit of salt needle in there because of that. So, yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. Main event, though, we had Lenny Apero against Jordan Thompson. Now, I said I really wanted Jordan Thompson to win, but I couldn't see anything other than him getting clipped and knocked out late in the bout. And I kind of predicted between sort of rounds, I think it was 7 to 9. Well, he definitely holds a shot a bit better at heavyweight. He got caught with a couple of low blows. There were definitely some shots that strayed low by Pero. But Pero he didn't even move his feet much in this fight. He decided that I'm going to stay close to you, which is kind of what I said on Basis Picks he might do in order to, to basically negate the power and the punching accuracy of Jordan Thompson. Try to stick close, but he had the very tight high guard, was blocking a lot of shots off the guard, sort of dipping out of the way, moving and rolling the head. He did very, very well with that guard. That guard was Jean Gelet-esque in terms of there was very little getting through it, but his catch and counter was on point, especially in the first half of the fight. He was employing a lot of shots to the body. Both him and his brother, they love those body shots. They, I mean, Lenier is a bit more of a body puncher than Danier. Danier likes to sort of pop their head back, but they both will dig to the body, and they both aren't afraid to scoop that shot just a little bit lower as it's coming up if they need to maybe knock the wind out of you or hit the cup. So they got that little bit of that dirtiness in them, but yeah, he's the power. I'm not sure if the power is going to be there at the elite level, but the counter punching is top notch. And Jordan's someone who's very fast. Obviously he does have a lot of mistakes in him, and there's some things that he does I worry about when I see him, but for the most part, if he can sort of learn to keep people at the end of the jab, like I feel like he was doing a little bit at cruiserweight in his earlier fights, he could definitely do some damage at heavyweight, because he's like 6'7", really long reach, and very athletic, got very fast feet, is able to get in and out of range, holds his chin a little too high up in the air, especially being someone that's that's taller than everyone. It should be quite easier to have your chin tucked, because you're having to look down at your opponent, but every time he sort of backs up, the chin sort of flies up, and he has a tendency to get caught. Like I said, he wore the shots a little bit better in this fight than he has in previous, but that makes a lot more sense. He's got 38, 39 extra pounds on him, isn't having to drain himself down to the 200-pound limit and then do a rehydration clause at the on the second day weigh-in. So yeah, he held it a little bit, but as I had said, I thought he'd get clipped and knocked out or stopped later on in the fight. In the 9th round, it almost happened. He got caught with a counter. I think it was a counter right to the jaw. Then the left sort of came in round the side towards the temple, and the legs did a dance as he fell towards the ropes. Pero tried to get in, tried to sort of finish the fight. Jordan was able to kind of hold on a little bit. But he was getting caught with the only bet. I think the thing that saved him is a lot of the shots that Peril started throwing, because I feel like he was a little bit tired. He started sort of throwing. They almost looked like hammer shots and wild windmills over the top, which Jordan was able to sort of get away from, just about slip and get off, bounce off the shoulder and stuff. But he was in some dangerous moments, and yeah, but he managed to get through that. And then in the 10th round, he did quite well in the 10th. I feel like he did lose it, but he did finish strong at the end of the 10th round. So if there would have been 2 more rounds, maybe he would have been all right, because he did look and feel like he was a little bit fresher than Pero at the end of the 10, even though he had definitely taken the more damage and probably looked more likely to get knocked out. I feel like Pero's the defense and the fact that even though he was tired, the construct remained intact is what would have sort of carried him through another couple of rounds potentially, but he definitely was coming under the cosh at that point. But I think the judges' scorecards, I think there was one that was 90, I think there was one that was 97, 93, and then I think there was 2 that was 97, 92. So essentially I think Jordan got 2 rounds in the fight on all 3 of the cards, or it might have been one we got 3 rounds, and then there might have been a share of a round. So I think one of the cards might have been 98, 93, and then the other one might have been 97, 93. No, sorry, one was 96, 93, and then the other was 2 was 96, 93, and one was 97, 93. So that one, they gave 1 round a draw somewhere, and Pero obviously got a point taken off. I think it was in the 6th or the 7th round for a low shot. So that's why obviously 97, 93. But basically he won 7 rounds to 3 on 2 of the cards, and then I think it was like 7. It was 7-2 and 1 even on the other. So comfortable win. Had to come through some sticky moments towards the end, but again, like I said, the defense was there. Jarrell Miller got in the ring with him afterwards. He called Jarrell Miller into the ring, said, look, you need to come fight me, stop having your fights collapse for whatever reason, but I want to fight you next. And Jarrell said, yeah, Eddie Hearn, hook it up. So maybe we get that one April of next year, March, April. I'd be down for that. I think that'd be a good fight. yeah, especially if they have it down in Orlando, Caribe Royale. I'd still like to see if Eddie can maybe get Daniel Perro signed up as well, because neither of the Perro brothers are on big money, so you could definitely add them both to the roster. And I'm pretty sure that Daniel doesn't have an actual deal with MVP Promotions, so it would be good to get both of them on there, have both of them leading the charge, especially as on the one of the last the zone and matchroom thing, they had both of them on the graphic. I was like talking, the Perro brothers or whatever they was claiming about them, and they was talking about both on the matchroom the zone thing. So that probably leads me to believe that there has been a deal put in place or something for Danielle as well, and maybe they just haven't announced it yet, or maybe they're just going to kind of do it on the quiet and see what happens there. But I definitely want to see sort of where they rank up, and it would be nice to even get them to come over to the UK and fight some of the UK lot, the up and comers, the David Adeliers, the maybe they won't get the Wardleys and the Caballeros just quite yet, but the Solomon Dacus, what's his name, David Allen will also be like Fraser Clark, Jamie TKV, sort of get onto that level. Philip Hergovich, I think they definitely could get in that one. Obviously they won't get the Derek Chisoros and that, but even maybe test Lenier Perro against Zhang, or Daniel Perro against Moses Otalma. There's no reason why Moses shouldn't be able to fight him 26 against 20. People are saying that he needs to start fighting some younger people and not, people in their mid to late 30s or 40s. That would be an interesting fight. I know that Richard Torres already called out Moses Otalma, said, yo, let's run it, let's get it. He's like 25, 26. So I feel like these are all viable options. Maybe Joseph Parker on a rebound fight, take on Lenier Perro. I don't see any issues with that. Lawrence Okoli, I think Lenier or Daniel Perro against Lawrence Okoli would be a good fight. Daniel Dubois, there's plenty of names on the UK side that they can be fighting. So yeah, definitely keen to see kind of how that moves and what happens with all of that moving forward. Otherwise, it was a pretty decent night of boxing. Obviously, some very questionable decisions, but yeah, I think, and if I'm remembering correctly, there was another questionable decision on that Queensberry card. Oh, Liam Cameron, that's who I forgot. Liam Cameron and what's the guy's name? Is it Turner? Jack Turner, the Midlands guy. Apologies if that's not his name. I can't remember. No, Troy. Was it Troy Jones? Yeah, Troy Jones. Where did I get Jack Turner from? Anyway, yeah, look, that one. People were saying, that Troy Jones won that fight. Personally, I disagree. I do actually think Liam Cameron did win it. There was a lot. Again, the commentary was very negative towards Cameron, especially in the first half of the fight. And it's funny because they were saying, he just doesn't have the effort to go for the second phase of attack, and he just can't sort of throw the punches in combinations. And they was really hammering this throughout rounds, but when they're saying this, I'm literally looking at this guy ramping it up, and like he starts slow. We all know that rounds 1 and 2, maybe 3, always kind of start slow. Then he starts to invest to the body, just pick it up a little bit and make people work. That's what he done with Lyndon Arthur. That's what he did with Ben Whittaker in their first fight. And this is clearly what he was doing here. And I saw him taking the air out of the tires from like round 3 onwards, landing good body shots, landing some clean shots up top against Troy Jones as well. It just was consistent until, and then it's even to like, they was really almost admonishing him about round 7, I think it was, and saying, just don't know if he's got anything left. Maybe it's the age and rare. And then all of a sudden, right towards the end of this round, they're like, this is actually been his best round so far. I'm like, duh, he's been doing that same thing for the last 2-3 rounds. To the point I even tweeted, it's like, it feels like his commentary is just reading from a script, because what they're saying is not what I'm seeing on the screen. And then, by the time it got to the 10th round, they're like, he got a couple rounds back here. Maybe he's made it a bit closer. I'm like, to me, I feel like the dude's winning the fight. Now, again, I didn't score the fight round by round because I was busy doing some other stuff, but I watched every round and I saw how the rounds were playing out. And I've got no problem comfortably feeling like he won 6 of those rounds. I can understand if maybe some people thought it was a draw, 5-5, or even some people thought Troy won it maybe 6-4. But to me, I had no issue with the cards. I didn't think it was a robbery or anything like that, as some people was mentioning. Yeah, I just feel like he basically did what he does. He ramped it up towards the end, kind of just got it going, and then at the end of it, just used his experience to take the gameplay away from Troy, who's not really been at the same levels or fought the same type of opponents. Just how I kind of felt. But yeah, look, leave your comments down below. Let me know if you feel like I'm gassing. Let me know if you feel like I'm not on point on that one. And yeah, your comments, I'm gonna be happy to respond to all of you. With that being said, thank you for watching. I will leave it there. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Fight Talk Live will be taking place on Tuesday this week. It will be Tuesday evening, I think 7:45. Yeah, so apologies for those who were looking forward to it tonight, but hey, at least it's happening rather than not, which is the main thing. But yeah, enjoy yourselves. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit the hype button as well, as it does seem to do something, and I appreciate you all. And I will catch you on my next video, which will be this week at some point. But yeah, until then, peace.